We have a lot of new subscribers that come in and maybe aren't familiar with some of the terms you use, but you said you're seeing a lot of financings that don't include a warrant. However, the company is still offering options. If you could expand on why that's significant and what exactly that means, I think that'd be valuable.
Sure. I want you to watch Ross's face very closely when I do this.
You mentioned 5-year warrants, right?
Issuers regard warrants as dilution. The difference between an option and a warrant is who gets it. So the issuer regards any upside in a financing that they don't get as dilution. I noticed that even when warrants are on offer, the company tends to want to do 2-year warrants, while the options that they issue themselves are 5-year options. If the market falls apart, it seems that the options get replaced to reflect market conditions, while the warrants don't. A good entrepreneur like Ross Beaty will say to me, I love picking on Ross, a good entrepreneur will say to me, but Rick, that's an unfair comparison. I work at the company. I'm creating value. To which I say, Ross, that's right. You work there 5 days a week, but my money works there 7 days a week. So by rights, if there's 12 shares, I should get 7 and you should get 5. I hope that helps clear things up, Jay.
Well, in truth, since he's using my name in with some certain slander attached to it, I wouldn't hear that. I mean, first of all, I don't issue options anymore. I mean, they were once issued, but quite frankly, they were expensive. They're not very useful, and in most companies, they're not particularly good forms of compensation. So they're stupid, and they're costly to every company. They're extra dilution you don't need and you shouldn't have. And so are 5-year warrants and 2-year warrants and all warrants for that matter. They are dilution you don't need and you shouldn't want. If you need money, go and do a financing. Yes, they're an incentive to risk investors like Rick to make risky investments. But if the stock is priced right, if the business plan is good enough, you shouldn't need warrants, and so I've never been a great fan of attaching warrants to any financings, and I haven't done so for many years. But by the same token, options are inefficient as well. So I say out with them all.
Quick break here. This episode is brought to you by West Red Lake Gold Mines. Now, if you know nothing about West Red Lake Gold Mines, let me tell you one thing. This company was founded on the back of a transaction where they purchased the Madsen mine in northwestern Ontario in an area called the Red Lake Gold District, which to date has produced around 30 million ounces of gold from some of the richest gold deposits in the world. Now, what they paid for this mine versus what they got has led legendary mining entrepreneur Frank Giustra to call this transaction the deal of the decade. And Bob Moriarty, founder of 321 Gold, was recently on my show calling West Red Lake Gold Mines one of the 2 most undervalued gold companies in Canada. If you're curious why these individuals are so excited about West Red Lake Gold Mines, hit the link below to learn more. Now back to the episode. Okay. Yeah, good perspective. And one other question I'll hit you with, Ross, to see if you differ from Rick on this point. So I know, Rick, I've heard you recently, and most of the times we spoke actually described the junior market as overfunded. Regardless of how scarce the entrepreneurs and investors may feel capital is, you consistently come out and say, no, this market's overfunded right now, and mainly always. Ross, what's your take on that thought?
No, I think Rick's right in that. I mean, what he means is there's a lot of money chasing, a lot of companies, and only a few of those companies are ever going to work well, either because of management or projects or luck or whatever. And so he's right. But you've got to remember, too, this is a very speculative industry, much like a casino. It is a form of casino, except you rarely lose all your money if you're an investor. And sometimes you do have a 10-bagger or 20-bagger, and you can have that again and again if you back the right companies in any market, good markets and bad markets. So, that's kind of why there's always money there, because there's always gamblers, and gamblers like taking these speculative bets, particularly if those gamblers have a view on, let's say, gold, or let's say anything, uranium, rare earth metals, anything. If people have these views on things, and you never buy a commodity investment or a commodity-based company, you never buy it if you think the metal price is going to stay where it is. You always assume it's going to go up. No gold investor buys a gold stock unless that gold investor thinks the gold price is going to go up. You'd never buy a gold stock if you think the gold price is going to go down. So it's just like, to me, it's just part of the game. And it's never going to change. And yes, we can complain that there's way too much money in the industry, and there's way too much serial issuance of stock that causes this sort of flood of liquidity that is often meets illiquidity. So you get this terrible, these bear cycles that happen, and they're just brutal. There's no liquidity in any of these names. And there's too many names, and there's too many promoters, and all that stuff. I think that's what Rick's complaining about. I just think it's the nature of the business, and I don't think it's going to end, and I don't think maybe it shouldn't end. I don't know. It's part of the game.
Yeah, I mean, my only take on that would be: is there another way, Rick? Like, what do you think? Is there, until we have better technology and a more efficient way of determining what's far beneath the surface, is there a different way that we can scale?
People.
Okay.
People. I mean, there's 3,000 juniors around the world. 85% of them are run by the lame, the halt, and the blind. You find people who failed in crypto, and then they failed in pot. Now they're failing in AI. And if gold goes to $3,000, all these AI promoters are going to go into gold, although they can't spell gold. This is really simple stuff, Jay. There are people who are serially successful. There are people who build management teams whose skill sets are suited to the task at hand.
So then
Ross is right when he describes the average speculator as a punter. That's why the average speculator loses. They run to a slot machine where the light is flashing, despite the fact that the probability of it flashing again is very, very, very low. Unlike a casino, in junior mining, if you work hard, you can impact the odds.
Right.
You can align yourself with a deposit that has the potential to be a tier 1 deposit, not a sort of a penny dreadful. You can allow yourself to hang out with people who've been successful 10 times in the past, or you can pick a serial loser who's a good storyteller. You can look at a company's income statement and balance sheet and see a company where general and administrative expense over the last 5 years has been below 20% of capital raised, or you can buy the TSXV where the median is closer to 50% a year. This is not tough stuff, but you have to do it.
It's actually a great way to close the loop, because it comes back to what we opened the conversation with, that the sector is overfunded. It's nobody's fault but the investors who are overfunding entrepreneurs who don't deserve capital, and not focusing on the entrepreneurs. Success begets success, who have the resumes, surround themselves with other winners. Even if they're the up and comer, they've got the veteran on the board. That's typically what I look for. If it's the younger, less experienced entrepreneur, you want to see the support on the board of a Ross Beaty or of a Frank Juster or someone like this.